It all started at a family dinner. Grilled lemon chicken, soft laughter echoing through the room, warm candlelight. The kind of evening meant to bring people closer. And then, out of nowhere, my sister stood up and pointed her finger at me with venom in her voice. "She stole my bracelet," she said. Her voice cut through the noise like glass shattering on tile. Everyone went silent. My mom let out a faint gasp. My dad stood, locked eyes with me like I was some kind of stranger, and spoke just 4 words. "Leave. Right. Now." No one asked me anything. No one let me explain. Just that, punishment served cold before we even touched dessert. I packed my things while voices in the living room argued over what to do about what I'd done. My sister lingered in the hallway, arms crossed, a slight smirk tugging at the corner of her mouth. Not a word. Not a single tear from me. Not in front of them. It's been 5 years since that night. No one contacted me. Not until last week, when a plumber replacing pipes under the kitchen sink discovered something stuck behind a cabinet. The bracelet. It had slipped through the cracks the night of the dinner. The same bracelet I was accused of taking. Now they suddenly want to make things right. They say they miss me, that they regret how things unfolded. But I've moved on. I've built a life from the ashes they left me in. And now that they've found the truth, I don't know if they deserve a place in the version of me that survived them. My sister Liana never really loved me. Not in the way sisters are meant to. Sure, she played nice when others were around, smiled when it was expected, but underneath it all, there was a low simmer, resentment maybe. A kind of quiet competition I never signed up for. Liana was the star. Elegant, academic, the golden girl. In every photo her smile was perfect, her posture flawless. Me? I looked like someone who'd wandered into the frame by accident. If we were a painting, she was the centerpiece, and I was the shadow behind her. Our parents never openly picked favorites, but they didn't need to. It was in the small things. The way they clapped louder at her piano recitals, how they hung every single one of her certificates in glossy frames, while mine collected dust in drawers. At dinner, conversations revolved around her grades, her friends, her internships. They never asked what I loved or wanted. Maybe they didn't think I had anything worth asking about. So I tried. I once stayed up helping her study for her biology test. She rolled her eyes the whole time. I made her a cake for her 18th birthday. She left it untouched. She was never outwardly cruel. No name-calling, no obvious hostility. Just that steady, suffocating feeling that I didn't matter. When I got accepted into design school, my father said, "That's sweet." When Liana landed a part-time legal internship, they threw a party. A real one. With balloons and catered food. Only one person ever really noticed how that felt. Grandpa. He once pulled me aside and whispered, "You've got something they don't see. Don't let them bury it." I held on to that. It was the one time I felt visible. Liana didn't like that Grandpa and I were close. Especially when he started giving me things. An old camera, a journal that belonged to Grandma, and eventually, a delicate silver bracelet passed down through the family. He gave it to me in private right before he passed. I never flaunted it, never even wore it in front of her. But somehow she knew. And she wanted it. So when she couldn't have it, she made sure I suffered for it. That night, the dinner, it was like something from a scripted play. Mom had pulled out her best dishes, ironed cloth napkins, arranged fresh flowers for the centerpiece. Liana had flown in from college for spring break and was being celebrated for another scholarship win. I didn't want to go, but I showed up anyway, like I always did. Playing the role of the invisible support act in her grand performance. The house was full. Cousins, aunts, family, friends. I brought wine, complimented her dress, helped with setup. I just wanted to survive the evening and go home. Dinner started fine. Toasts, clinking glasses, laughter that didn't reach me. I zoned out, picking at my food. And then it happened. Just after dessert was set down. A perfect slice of lemon tart I hadn't even touched, Liana gasped. Her hand shot to her wrist. "My bracelet," she said, her voice trembling. "It's gone." Heads turned. Silence followed. It was the bracelet Grandpa gave me, the one Liana believed was hers by right. "I left it on the hallway table before dinner," she said, eyes wide. "It's just gone." And then her gaze locked on me. A slow turn, like she already knew where to aim. She was upstairs before dinner. Alone. Someone chuckled awkwardly. But her face was all seriousness. Cold, almost theatrical. She's been bitter ever since I got that scholarship. She probably thought she could pawn it or something. That hit me like a punch. I opened my mouth to speak, but Mom beat me to it. Is this true? She asked. Quiet, unsure, but expectant. Like a part of her believed it might be. No, I said. Absolutely not. But Dad didn't care. He was already standing. Empty your bag. What? Right now? I asked, stunned. The room was staring. Every face, people I'd known since childhood, watching to see what I'd do next. I placed my purse on the table, flipped it open, and dumped everything out. Phone, lip balm, headphones, a pack of tissues. No bracelet. Of course not. But that didn't stop the damage. But it didn't matter. The silence had already chosen sides. Even if you hid it somewhere, Leighton said, you know what you did. I stood up. You're lying and you know it. My dad's face turned cold. Leave. I blinked. Excuse me. Get out of this house. You can't be serious. Take your things and go tonight. My mother looked down at her plate. She didn't stop him. No one did. So I walked out. No coat. No goodbye, just the necklace-shaped hole they left in my chest. The night I left, I had nowhere to go. No plan, no backup, no one waiting outside in a warm car. Just me, my over-the-shoulder bag, and the sharp sting of betrayal pulsing through my chest like a second heartbeat. I stayed at a cheap motel on the edge of town for the first 2 nights. Rooms smelled like bleach and mildew, but at least no one accused me of theft. Then I called my friend Zoe. We hadn't talked in months, but she picked up on the first ring. I'll be there in 10, she said. That's how my real life began. Not with a promotion or a diploma, but with a friend handing me a blanket and saying, stay as long as you need. Her couch became my safe zone. Her cat Muffin curled at my feet every night like a quiet reassurance that someone still saw me as human. My parents, they never called, not once, not even to ask if I was okay. They deleted my existence like you'd wipe dust off a bookshelf. 5 years of birthdays, holidays, family gatherings all went on without me. I saw the photos on Facebook. Leighton grinning in every frame. My seat always filled by someone else. They moved on like I had died. I bounced between gigs, dog walking, temp jobs, even spent a summer cleaning rental homes. I didn't complain. I couldn't. There was no one to listen. Eventually I found my footing in design. Interior styling started as a hobby I posted online. But then people started asking if I took clients. I said yes, even when I didn't know what I was doing. Turns out desperation is a good motivator. I built a portfolio, rented a tiny studio, started doing digital consultations. Slowly, piece by piece, I stitched together a career from scratch with no help, no safety net, and certainly no apologies. But no matter how far I got, that night at the dinner table stayed with me. Not because of the accusation, but because of the ease with which they let me go. The way silence filled the room after I was told to leave. Like they'd been waiting for an excuse. I used to replay that scene over and over in my mind, trying to spot the moment I should have shouted louder, cried harder, begged more. But as time passed, I realized something that changed everything. I didn't fail them. They failed me. They failed to protect me, to believe me, to see me. And once you know that truth, there's no going back. Healing didn't happen all at once. There was no magical day when I woke up and stopped feeling like the discarded daughter. But somewhere between painting cheap IKEA shelves and watching YouTube videos on color theory at 2 a.m., I started to feel something again worth. It began with a single project. A small-town bakery wanted to refresh their look. Zoe referred me. I was terrified. I had 0 credentials, just mood boards and intuition. But I said yes. I spent 2 weeks in that place scrubbing grout, rearranging shelves, hand-painting a mural of lavender and honey jars across the back wall. The owner cried when she saw it. I didn't think anyone could see what I saw in my head, she whispered. That moment changed everything. Suddenly, I wasn't just surviving, I was creating. One job led to another. Then came a website. Then a local article. Then a message from a boutique hotel asking if I'd be willing to consult. The answer was yes. Always yes. Because while my family had erased me, the world was beginning to write me back in under my own name on my own terms. I moved out of Zoe's apartment after 10 months. Rented a 1-bedroom loft above a florist shop. The ceiling leaked during heavy rains, but the light was good for plants and the rent was just within reach. I made it my sanctuary. Soft linen curtains, muted earth tones, a corkboard filled with fabric swatches, client notes, and a tiny photo of me and Grandpa sitting on the porch with matching lemonade glasses. The only thing from my old life that I kept. I didn't speak of my family often. New friends knew there was a wound but not the depth. I simply said, "We're not close," and left it there. No one pushed. Then came the letter. It was thin. Just one envelope. No return address, but I knew the handwriting instantly. Slanted, neat, overly practiced Layton's. My stomach twisted as I opened it. The paper inside smelled like the perfume she always wore, something sweet and sharp at once. It started plainly. "I don't know if this will reach you or if you'll even read it. But I'm sorry." I almost stopped reading right there. Not because I didn't want to hear her apology, but because I didn't believe it. She went on to explain how the bracelet had been found during the kitchen renovation. That it had slipped through the crack behind the cabinet the night of the dinner. That she hadn't realized it until the plumber pulled it out last week and handed it to Mom covered in dust. When they found it, Mom cried. Dad sat in silence for over an hour. They've been different ever since. Quieter. Ashamed. She wrote about regret. About the silence. About birthdays missed and milestones skipped. She never said the words I wanted most. I lied. She danced around it instead, calling it a misunderstanding and emotions running high. But what stuck with me most was the last line. "If you ever want to come back, we'd love to see you. Come back." As if I'd just taken a vacation. I folded the letter, tucked it into a drawer I rarely opened, and went to water my plants. Some part of me wanted to scream. Another part wanted to sob. But I did neither. I just stood in my kitchen, surrounded by soft light and rosemary scent, and realized something that I never had the courage to say before. I didn't want to go back. Even if they begged. Even if they got down on their knees. Even if Layton handed me that bracelet in a velvet box and confessed every lie she ever told, I wouldn't want to live under that roof again. Not even for a minute. Because I wasn't that girl anymore. I wasn't the girl who sat silently while people decided my worth over dinner. I wasn't the girl who begged to be seen only to be erased. I wasn't the backup singer to my sister's solo. I had my own spotlight now. My own stage. And I wasn't giving it up. 3 months after the letter, I opened a small showroom. It wasn't much, just a street-facing space with a big window, a refurbished door and shelves I built myself. But it was mine. I painted the walls eggshell blue. I hung my best mood boards, set out curated vases and sample swatches, and lit a candle every morning before the first client walked in. It smelled like sandalwood and beginnings. People came. Not in droves, not like in the movies. But steadily. A florist needing a revamp. A therapist redoing her office. A newlywed couple wanting to make their tiny rental feel like home. They all walked in holding uncertainty and left with light in their eyes. And I gave them everything I never got: belief. Encouragement. A vision worth building. Zoe came by one Friday with coffee and a grin. "You're doing it," she said, looking around like she still couldn't believe it. "You really made all this out of nothing." I shook my head. "Not nothing. You gave me a couch, remember?" She smiled. "That couch had a broken spring. Still held me up," I said. We both laughed. Sometimes I wondered if Layton ever looked me up. If she found the website, saw the article, watched the mini-feature a lifestyle blogger did on me last spring. Maybe. Maybe not. Either way, it didn't matter. Because the truth is, I stopped needing her to see me the moment I finally saw myself. It took me years to realize that being cast out of that house wasn't the worst thing to ever happen to me. It was the beginning of everything. It made space for real friendship. For growth. For love. The quiet kind you build for yourself brick by brick. It taught me that family isn't just who you're born to. Sometimes it's who hands you a blanket, or who curls up at your feet like Muffin did night after night. Sometimes it's a client who cries in your arms because you understood what they couldn't say. Or a mentor who believes in your ideas before you do. I no longer dream of being let back in. I don't sit by the phone on holidays. I don't stare at the old photos and wish I was still in them. Instead, I create new ones. Better ones. With people who clap when I win, who ask about my dreams, who know the value of a single bracelet. Not because it's gold or rare, but because it was once a symbol of what someone saw in me. And that someone wasn't my sister. It was my grandfather. And now it's me. It happened quietly. Like most endings do. No big confrontation. No screaming match in the rain. Just a phone call from Mom 5 years too late. It was late fall and I was sitting on my studio floor, sketching layout options for a client's sunroom. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something in me, curiosity, habit, maybe just the weight of unfinished business, picked it up. Hello. There was a pause. Then, Belle. My heart dropped. The voice was older, thinner, more fragile. But I knew it. Mom, I said, not warmly. Not coldly. Just stating the fact. She exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for 5 years. I wasn't sure you'd pick up. I didn't answer. I didn't owe her anything. The silence stretched. We found the necklace, she said finally. Months ago. We should have called sooner. We just didn't know how. You should have known 5 years ago, I said, voice calm but steady. I know. Her voice cracked. I know. And I'm sorry. We were wrong. So wrong. Another silence. This one hung heavier. I waited. I wanted to hear her say it. Not just that they found the necklace. Not just that they regretted it. I wanted her to name what they did. To own the betrayal. But she didn't. Instead she said, Leighton's getting married in the spring. He wants to invite you. We all do. A beat passed. 1,000 thoughts rushed in. My father's voice telling me to get out, Leighton's smug eyes, the ache of being erased from birthdays and photos and holidays. And now they wanted me to show up for her again. Smile. Be the supportive sister. My stomach churned. I'm happy for her, I said finally. But I won't be there. Belle, please. I built a life without you, I said, voice low but firm. And you only remembered I existed when the truth got too loud to ignore. That's not fair. No, I cut her off. What wasn't fair was being cast out like I meant nothing. What wasn't fair was begging you to believe me and watching you look away. She didn't speak. I'm not angry anymore, I said. I don't hate you. But I don't need you. And I'm done performing daughterhood for people who only love me when I'm convenient. Can't we meet? Just talk. I am talking, I said. And I'm saying goodbye. Then I hung up. That night I lit a candle in the studio. The same one I used to light when I didn't know if I'd make rent. The same one I lit after my first real client cried and hugged me. The one that smelled like beginnings. I stood there in the soft glow and realized what that moment was. Not a door closing. Not even forgiveness. It was release. Later that week I took out the photo of Grandpa and me. The one I'd kept pinned to my corkboard like a lifeline. I held it for a long time, then slipped it into a new frame, oak with brass edges. I placed it on the front desk of the studio, right next to a small sign that read, Your story deserves space. Clients always asked about the quote. I told them it was something my grandfather once said to me. That stories, like rooms, needed light and warmth and honesty. They nodded like they understood. Sometimes they did. Leighton never called. Not after the wedding invitation, not after the letter, not after the necklace turned up. And strangely I was okay with that. Because some people are chapters. Others are just lessons in margins. And Leighton? He was both. He taught me how to be unseen. How to question myself. But also, how to rise. How to find color in blank space. How to speak even when no one listens. And most of all, how to walk away. Epilogue. 5 years, 2 lives. Sometimes I still think about that night. About the pecan pie I never ate. About the silence that swallowed me whole. About the girl I used to be, wide-eyed, hopeful, desperate for a seat at a table that was never set for her. That girl is gone now. But I keep a piece of her in every project. Every room I design. Every color palette I build. She's the part of me that still believes in warmth, in small kindnesses, in blank slates. He's also the part that knows. You don't need their permission to begin again.